The tension in Shanghai reached its boiling point as Novak Djokovic's dream of another Masters 1000 title came crashing down in stunning fashion. What was supposed to be a comfortable path to glory turned into one of the biggest shocks of the 2025 season. The Serbian legend, a 24-time Grand Slam champion and the clear favorite in the absence of Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner, was stopped in his tracks by the unlikeliest of opponents. World number 204, Valentin Vacherot. The atmosphere inside the Qizhou Forest Sports City Arena was electric. The crowd, sensing history, witnessed a match that perfectly captured the unpredictable nature of tennis. Vacherot, a player who had come through qualifying just to earn his place in the main draw, dismantled the great Djokovic in straight sets, 6-3, 6-4, leaving fans stunned and commentators speechless. The upset wasn't just about rankings or form, it was about belief, youth, and the relentless march of a new generation unafraid of legends. For Djokovic, the match was a test of endurance as much as skill. The punishing humidity of Shanghai had already taken its toll on several top players, and the 38-year-old Serbian arrived on court visibly drained. Even before the semifinal, he had vomited multiple times in his third-round match against Jannik and required medical treatment for leg tightness during the quarterfinals. Despite these warning signs, he stepped onto the court with his trademark determination. Yet this time, willpower wasn't enough. Valentin Vacherot, the Monegasque underdog, played fearless tennis. His aggressive baseline game, sharp angles, and explosive forehand pushed Djokovic to the edge from the very first point. The Serbian tried to dictate play, but every attempt to take control was met with precision counterpunching from the 26-year-old qualifier. By the middle of the second set, Djokovic's frustration began to show. His footwork slowed, his serve lost its bite, and the errors crept in. When the final ball sailed long, Djokovic gave a brief nod across the net, walked toward his chair, and sat in silence. No racket smash, no visible anger, just quiet disbelief. It was the look of a man who had given everything his body could offer and found himself on the wrong side of history. In the post-match press conference, Djokovic was composed but curt. "I want to congratulate Valentin for reaching his first Masters 1000 final," he said. "Coming from the qualifying rounds, it's an incredible story. He deserved to win today. He played better, no question." When asked about his physical state, however, the tone changed. "No," he replied sharply. "Next question, please." Behind those few words was the reality that even the greatest athletes cannot escape time. Djokovic's legendary discipline has allowed him to stay competitive well into his late 30s, but the demands of modern tennis, the travel, the humidity, the constant battles, have begun to exact a price. His loss in Shanghai was more than just a result. It was a reflection of a body nearing its limit and a sport entering a new chapter. The defeat also came at a crucial time. With Alcaraz and Sinner sidelined, this Masters 1000 was Djokovic's best chance to close the ranking gap before the ATP Finals in Turin. Instead, he leaves China empty-handed and visibly frustrated, while Vacherot's fairy-tale run continues to captivate fans across the world. It's hard to overstate what this means for the balance of power in men's tennis. For nearly 2 decades, Novak Djokovic, Roger Federer, and Rafael Nadal have defined excellence, rewriting the sport's limits year after year. Now, as Alcaraz, Sinner, and other rising stars forge ahead, the generational shift has become undeniable. What was once a prediction has now become reality. In the locker room, witnesses say Djokovic sat for several minutes before leaving the arena, deep in thought. For a player known for turning setbacks into fuel, this loss might serve as his motivation heading into the final stretch of the season. His next stop will be the Six Kings Slam in Riyadh, an exhibition event with enormous prestige and financial stakes, before moving on to Paris and the ATP Finals. But the question remains, how much more can his body take? What happened in Shanghai wasn't just a defeat, it was a reminder that greatness, no matter how enduring, is not immune to time and circumstance. For fans, it was bittersweet, the fall of a titan, and the rise of a new face of courage. Tennis if you want to keep following every twist in this evolving rivalry. Alcaraz, Djokovic, Sinner, and the next wave rewriting tennis history. Make sure you're subscribed to World News Tennis. Don't miss the next chapter. While Djokovic's early exit in Shanghai dominated headlines, another storm was brewing behind the scenes, one that could redefine the politics of the men's tour. Inside the ATP corridors, frustration has quietly grown toward the sport's 2 new powerhouses, Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner. Their total dominance over the past 2 seasons has not only reshaped the rankings but also, according to some insiders, created an uncomfortable sense of inevitability that is wearing down the rest of the circuit. Right now, it's almost like watching two different leagues, said one top 20 player off record. There's Alcaraz and Sinner, and then there's the rest of us trying to survive. That statement echoes the sentiment of Jakub Mensik, one of the ATP's rising hopes, who recently admitted in an interview that chasing the Spaniard and the Italian has become almost impossible. At the moment, Alcaraz and Sinner are simply better in every department, he confessed. There's a huge gap between them and the rest. We all try to catch up, that's our job, but their consistency, their mental level, their shot-making, it's another planet. Mensik's words hit a nerve within the tour. Only a year ago, he was touted as one of the few young players capable of challenging the giants. After his sensational run in Miami, where he defeated Djokovic to claim his first Masters 1000 title, many believed a new Big Three era might form with Alcaraz, Sinner, and Mensik himself. But 2025 has painted a very different picture. Injuries, inconsistency, and the sheer force of the top two have made that dream fade. Since January, Alcaraz and Sinner have split every major title. Between them, they've claimed 8 Grand Slams in a row, countless ATP 500s, and a near monopoly on finals appearances. Their rivalry has transformed from a friendly duel into a psychological mountain for others. Even elite names like Alexander Zverev, Taylor Fritz, and Daniil Medvedev have admitted privately that breaking through feels almost impossible. In that context, Djokovic's defeat in Shanghai was both symbolic and strategic. Without him, and with Alcaraz resting due to injury, the field should have been wide open. Yet none of the supposed next-tier players managed to capitalize. Instead, the breakthrough came from a qualifier ranked outside the top 200. For the ATP, it was both inspiring and alarming. Behind closed doors, executives are reportedly discussing the need to reignite competitive balance. Some have floated the idea of adjusting ranking points for smaller tournaments or introducing incentives for players who compete more consistently across surfaces. The goal: prevent another era where only two names dominate headlines week after week. But for Alcaraz and Sinner, this is not domination by accident. It's the product of relentless work. Both have redefined preparation in their own ways, Sinner with his surgical discipline, Alcaraz with his creative ferocity. Their duel has captivated audiences worldwide, turning every final between them into an event. What some in the ATP see as a problem, millions of fans see as the rebirth of modern tennis drama. Mensik himself acknowledged that paradox. It's inspiring and frustrating at the same time. When I practice with them, I understand why they win. Their rhythm is different. Every rally has purpose. You hit a good shot, and somehow they hit something better. The mental aspect might be the most decisive difference. Alcaraz's ability to smile through pressure, and Sinner's icy calm under fire, have set a new standard for emotional control in the sport. In contrast, players like Zverev, Fritz, and even Rune have often cracked in key moments. For Djokovic, watching this from the other side of his prime adds another layer of complexity. The Serbian, who spent years fending off Nadal and Federer, now faces a future where his greatest battles are against recovery and fatigue rather than rivals. In Shanghai, he didn't just lose a match. He confronted time itself. Meanwhile, the ATP's storyline keeps shifting. The rivalry between Alcaraz and Sinner continues to pull the sport into a new era, even as frustration builds among the rest of the field. The question now is not who can stop them, but who will even dare to try. As Djokovic prepares for the Six Kings Slam in Riyadh and Alcaraz readies for his return from injury, the power structure of men's tennis stands at a crossroads. Legends fade, prodigies rise, and the sport keeps rewriting its hierarchy. As Novak Djokovic left Shanghai visibly frustrated after his semifinal loss, another story was quietly unfolding back in Spain, one that symbolized renewal rather than decline. Carlos Alcaraz, after a brief but necessary pause, was stepping back into motion. The Spanish prodigy, who had been forced to withdraw from the Masters 1000 due to a left ankle issue sustained in Tokyo, was finally ready to return, not just to competition, but to conquest. Images from Murcia showed him smiling again, hitting with intensity under the soft autumn light, his movements sharp and fearless. The injury, once a source of anxiety, now seemed like a distant echo. Those who watched his latest training sessions said the power in his forehand had returned, but more importantly, so had the joy. In a year where he's already won the US Open, Roland Garros, and multiple ATP titles, Alcaraz's comeback marks the start of a decisive final stretch. His focus: the Six Kings Slam in Riyadh, followed by Paris-Bercy, the ATP Finals in Turin, and finally, the Davis Cup Finals in Bologna. 4 arenas that could define not just his season, but his legacy. The Riyadh event carries special significance. Not only does it serve as a glamorous prelude to the indoor season, but it also offers a staggering prize pool. $1.5 million guaranteed just for participating, and up to $6 million for the champion. For Alcaraz, that's secondary. What truly drives him is the opportunity to measure himself again against Novak Djokovic, the rival who continues to define the measure of greatness. But before returning to the court, Alcaraz allowed himself a rare pause. He attended the Spanish Open Golf Championship in Madrid, sharing laughs with Jon Rahm and Shane Lowry, alongside Davis Cup captain David Ferrer and footballer Sergio Reguilon. The brief vacation reflected a more mature, balanced version of the 22-year-old star. He understands now that greatness isn't built only through exhaustion. It's built through rhythm, control, and recovery. That mindset has also carried into his off-court empire. The announcement of Alcaraz's new Nike contract shocked even seasoned insiders. The deal, reportedly worth €160 million, makes him the highest-paid tennis player in history, surpassing even the iconic contracts once held by Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic. But perhaps even more symbolic than the money is the launch of his personal logo, set to debut at the ATP Finals in Turin. Designed by Nike's elite creative team, the logo will mark Alcaraz's official transition from rising star to global brand. Few have earned such recognition. Federer's RF and Nadal's Charging Bull are now joined by a new emblem of the modern era, the intertwined CA of Carlos Alcaraz. In many ways, this represents the evolution of the sport itself. Tennis is no longer just about trophies. It's about influence, image, and identity. Alcaraz embodies all three. His explosive playing style, genuine personality, and connection to fans across continents have made him the face of a generation that values both excellence and authenticity. Nike's statement regarding the partnership was brief but powerful. Carlos represents the future, fearless, grounded, and inspired. His energy transcends sport. Back on court, that same energy continues to shape the game. Alcaraz's training sessions at the J.C. Ferrero Equilite Academy are as intense as ever. His coach and mentor, Juan Carlos Ferrero, remains the architect of his mental discipline. Together, they've refined the balance between aggression and patience, the blend that makes Alcaraz so lethal indoors. Observers describe his preparation as surgical. Every drill, every pattern of movement, is designed to maximize efficiency. Even his diet and recovery cycles have been adjusted to sustain peak form through November. "We've learned from every season," Ferrero told Spanish media. "This time, we want Carlos to finish not only as number one, but as a complete player, physically, mentally, and emotionally." As the calendar narrows, the parallels with Djokovic's journey become impossible to ignore. The two stand as mirrors across generations, one defending his legacy, the other building his own. The contrast could not be sharper. Djokovic, 38, a warrior defined by endurance. Alcaraz, 22, a symbol of fearless reinvention. The stage is set for their next collision in Riyadh, where destiny will once again test both men under the desert lights. What remains certain is that the tennis world is watching a moment of transition, from one era to the next. The names may change, the records may fall, but the hunger for greatness never fades. This is World News Tennis. Stay tuned for exclusive analysis, behind-the-scenes stories, and every twist in the rivalry that defines this generation. Subscribe now, because the next chapter of tennis history begins here.